The date was October 13, 1972. A rugby team from Montevideo, Uruguay, along with their coaches and loved ones, eagerly awaited their flight to Santiago, Chile, for a friendly rugby match. On that day, a Fairchild FH-227 aircraft, belonging to the Uruguayan Air Force, slowly taxied on the runway. The passengers were filled with excitement. Laughter echoed through the cabin, and some passengers were playing card games. Little did they know that within a few hours, their joy would turn into a desperate struggle for survival that would test the limits of human endurance. The majesty of the Andes Mountains captivated the passengers as the plane soared through the clouds. From the window, the view looked like something out of a fairy tale. But within the mountains, nature had a far more treacherous face. The pilot struggled with increasing cloud cover that limited visibility. Flight corrections were made, but things did not go as planned. As the plane began to lose altitude, silence fell among the passengers. Everyone sensed something was wrong. The pilot's voice pierced the silence with a somber announcement. "All passengers, please fasten your seatbelts. The plane is crashing." It took only seconds for the plane to collide with the snow-covered peaks of the Andes, but for the passengers, those moments felt like an eternity. The aircraft slammed into the unforgiving rocks of the mountain at tremendous speed, splitting the fuselage in two. The engines tore off and crashed into the jagged surface of the mountains. Metal groaned and shattered as passengers were flung from their seats, trapped between debris and the violent gusts of wind sweeping through the mountains. Those who survived opened their eyes to a nightmare: frozen bodies and wreckage scattered across a snowy wasteland. Only 29 out of 45 passengers had survived the crash, but even those who made it through the impact would face a new and unimaginable ordeal. The freezing cold, high-altitude environment and unforgiving winds of the Andes would push the survivors to their limits. The survivors huddled together in makeshift shelters built from pieces of the wreckage: seats, metal fragments, anything that could protect them from the biting cold. But survival would not be easy. Their food supplies were dwindling fast. What little they had, chocolates, crackers, and some wine, was consumed within days. The Andes offered no mercy. The cold was relentless, and the survivors knew they were running out of time. As the days turned into a week, hunger became unbearable. Every passing hour eroded the hope of rescue. After 8 days of waiting, the survivors heard a devastating report on the radio. The search for them had been called off. The world had given up on them. With no food left and no hope of rescue, they faced a harrowing decision, one that would challenge the very essence of their humanity. To survive, they would have to eat the bodies of their friends who had died in the crash. At first, no one could accept the idea. But as starvation gnawed at them, the survivors made a silent pact, knowing that this choice would change them forever. Each bite was a battle not just of survival, but of conscience. Yet it was this impossible choice that kept many of them alive. Day after day, the group endured the cold, hunger, and the seemingly endless wait. For some, the act of consuming the dead became too much to bear, but for others, it was the only way to continue the fight for life. Among the survivors, 2 men, Nando Pardo and Roberto Canessa, knew that if they wanted to live, they had to find help themselves. The Andes, with its towering peaks and deadly terrain, was their only route to salvation. After several days of preparation, the two set out with a few makeshift supplies strapped to their backs. The cold was merciless, and snowstorms battered them at every step, but they refused to give up. For 10 days, Nando and Roberto trekked through the mountains without rest. Every step was a life or death decision as they faced bone-chilling winds, icy slopes, and treacherous pathways. As they slowly descended from the mountains, they spotted a man by a river, a shepherd. At first, they weren't sure if what they saw was real or a hallucination. But when the man came closer and they could shout for help, they realized their journey was finally over. The shepherd led them to Chilean authorities, and soon, a rescue mission was launched. Helicopters reached the crash site in the Andes, but by then, only 16 survivors remained. Those who endured the horror of the crash and the brutal environment had become symbols of resilience, tenacity, and the indomitable will to survive. Flight 571 was more than just a tragedy. It became a story of human endurance and the incredible power of the will to live. The survivors not only saved themselves, but they also left a mark on history, a testament to what the human spirit is capable of when pushed to its limits. Today, the Andes still keep the scars of that fateful flight, but even the mountains remember the victory of those 16 souls who refused to surrender. Their story serves as a reminder that in the darkest of times, hope and determination can overcome the impossible. This story, which reminds us once again that there is no difficulty that a person cannot overcome if they do not give up, has managed to survive from the dusty shelves of time and reach today. We have a lot to learn from the heroes of this story, which is still remembered with respect today. We also remember these people who risked everything, no matter the outcome, with respect once again.